Welcome everybody. Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to Gunner Fan TV. How's everybody doing? Hope everybody is doing great. Hopefully you have a better day than I did because trust me, after watching Arsenal pretty much just threw away 3 points yesterday. Listen, man, all day I was sitting there thinking, is it time for us to be panicking as Arsenal supporters? This is the question that I've been asking myself all day today. A team that we beat 5 goals to 1 last season in the Emirates. I was present for that game. That was my first time watching Arsenal, first time being in England and seeing my team play in the Emirates. And trust me, it was a really, really good performance and a really good experience for me at that time. And after seeing something like that, and then coming into yesterday thinking that we have better players, we have a stronger team than last year. So I'm expecting us to do better, and we didn't. We didn't. Mikel Arteta totally got that wrong yesterday. The lineup was the lineup was wrong. You know what I'm saying? I think he was overthinking it. I just think just as simple as that. You know, he was probably fearful of Man City and Pep, and it's just a complex. You know, it's Pep used to be his superior. Pep used to be his boss, and maybe in his mind he's still thinking the same way about Pep being his superior. So he's coming out there being very apprehensive, very defensive, because he doesn't want to lose against his boss. He wants to prove to his boss, to his mentor, that I'm not a scrub. I still believe that you're the greatest because at the end of the day, that's the guy who brought him to the forefront. So in the back of his mind, he's always thinking that Pep is better than him, right? And I think that was the problem. I think for Mikel, him going into the Man City game yesterday, maybe that was at the back of his mind. Anyway, listen, it was a terrible game. Any Arsenal fan who has any idea about the players in Arsenal, I mean, every Arsenal fan should know where we are right now in terms of squad depth. Should know that we have a great squad, a very strong squad, and the team that he put out yesterday, it was terrible. It was terrible. It wasn't attack minded. It was very defensive, and as a result of that, we didn't get the result that we should have gotten at home. So the question I ask is it time for Arsenal fans to panic? It's only 5 games in. Some will say that it's only 5 games in, 5 days in, 5 games in. Why are we panicking? Why are we losing our heads? Right? But it's that's not the case, because for those of us, we've been here for 6 years throughout the Mikel Arteta era, and we've seen the same thing. There was one season, 22-23, that everyone's going to talk about, that we looked like we were going to take the title, we were going to win it, and it turned out that we bottled it, we fumbled it. And I think since then, Arteta hasn't been the same, right? He's more defensive, more apprehensive. Um, he doesn't like to take risk anymore. And if you don't take risk in life, you won't move forward. You'll just be sitting there being afraid, and you want to enjoy life. And I'm talking about this in a life aspect, but from a footballing aspect, if you don't take a risk, you're not going to win, right? And there's not much risk to take with Arsenal with the current squad we have. We have a pretty solid squad, and we don't need to go out there and only take a risk because we have the squad to back it up, right? So all that was needed yesterday was for him to put out the best team and just go out there and execute, and he didn't do that. Five games in, honestly, I'm not panicking. If I'm going to be honest, I don't feel nervous. I don't. Maybe I've become desensitized with this whole Arsenal and Arteta thing. It's like maybe I know what to expect. I know what's going to happen. I don't have great expectations. But what I do know is if Mikel doesn't win anything this season, I think he needs to go. And I think now the Cronkies, I think Josh is now seeing that. I think him investing all this money this summer, bringing in Andrea Berta, as the sporting director, he's sending a statement to Mikel. You know, win or pack it up. And I think that's where it's at right now. If he doesn't win this season, he may have to go. Maybe not right now, maybe not in January, definitely not in January. But I think at the end of the season, if there's nothing achieved, I think he will go. Right? We have a really good squad, a really good club. The backbone of the club is stellar. Right? We come from winning things. That's what Arsenal's known for. We used to win things, as you can see in the background there. Arsene Wenger, he's holding up the FA Cup and the league and the Premier League title. Right? So we're used to winning. Right? We know this. But for some reason, over the years we fell off, and now we're back. And kudos to Mikel Arteta for bringing us back to the forefront. We're competing again. For years we weren't competing. We're at, like, we were in the mud. We used to be Banter FC. You know what I'm saying? It's bad when Tottenham is pretty much bantering you, right? Tottenham, they're going to semifinals in the they're going to finals in the Champions League. You know what I mean? They're doing well. They're finishing fourth. They're playing Champions League while we're just in eighth and sixth and fifth, and we're finishing in these, mid-table positions. And that's not Arsenal. But kudos to Mikel Arteta. He came through and he brought us back to the forefront where we're competing. And kudos to him for that, man. Like, we lift our hats to him for that, right? But it comes to a point where, is that enough? If you cannot get us across the line with the squad that you have, with the current squad that you have, then it's time for him to go. I see people talking about Mikel fanboys. I don't know if they're fanboys, but I just think they're grateful because they didn't grow up in an era where us generational fans, I would say, fans who grew up in that Wenger, Thierry Henry, Perez, Vieira, you know what I mean, Perez, um, uh, uh, Petit, um, like, we seen our club win. You know what I'm saying? We seen our club go unbeaten. We're used to winning. But I think some of these new fans, they've never seen that. I've seen Henry destroy Real Madrid. I've seen we've lost out against Barcelona. You know what I mean? In a final of a Champions League, right? We've gotten there before, right? I've seen that. I don't think these new fans that are really on the Arteta bandwagon, they've seen that, and I think that's the problem. They don't have that DNA in 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 their system. Like, they're it's not it's they've never seen it. So if you've never seen something, you don't know what it feels like. They're only used to losing. I think when a lot of these guys, when they've started to support Arsenal, when they came on the Arsenal, I wouldn't say the Arsenal train, but you started supporting the club at some point. Most of these guys are modern supporters, right? They just recently started supporting Arsenal in the modern era, and they're used to losing. And now Mikel Arteta has taken them to a next level. So to them, he's the man, right? That's all. That's what they've seen. That's what they know. So they don't want him to go because they think like he's the best thing that to ever happen to Arsenal. But we know the best thing that ever happened to Arsenal is right there. That man right there, right? So for me, I'm not really panicking, and maybe it's bad because I'm desensitized. But what I do know is that Mikel, if he doesn't win anything this season, then he needs to go. Right? He's wasting his time. He's wasting the club's time, the fans' time. It's no respect for the fans. I think we can't blame the owners anymore because people are always saying, or they used to say, the owners aren't spending any money. You know, they're just here to make a profit, and that's it. They don't care about the fans. They don't care about the club. That can't be said anymore for the last 2 or 3 seasons, to be honest. January was bad, but the reason why I think January was bad was because they were planning for this, right? And they've stepped up. We have the squad, so Mikel has to do the job. Well, let me get into it about yesterday. So obviously, most people had a problem with the lineup, right? And I did too. As soon as I saw that Mikel Marino was in the lineup, right away I was like, no, we're not going to win this game. You know what I'm saying? Like it's quite likely that we won't come out with a positive result, a favorable result. That won't happen because Mikel Marino is not an attacking player. He's not a 10. Why are you putting him in a 10 position when you have an actual number 10 wearing the 10 that you purchased, that you bought, and he's sitting on your bench? All right. So that was number one. The second thing was seeing Trossard on that side. Okay, if you're not gonna start Eze in the 10, then at least you're gonna put him on the left. Didn't do that either. Had out of nowhere started Trossard. Trossard scored an assist. Martinelli also scored an assist. And I felt like Martinelli's goal was more of a highlight than Trossard. So if you're gonna start somebody, I would have my pick would have been Martinelli for at least his work rate and the fact that he did score. He didn't do that. So right away you're saying, what's going on with Mikel? Why is he overthinking this? It's pretty simple. You have the players, you know how they play. Like even though he's new to Arsenal, but he's been in the league for a while. So you've seen him. He scored against us in a game. I think I was in a home game. I think it was a home game, and he scored a beautiful volley. You know what I'm saying? You know how he plays. So it's not like you're not used to seeing him, and you don't start him. And I think that was the first problem with yesterday, the lineup. I gave him kudos. Halftime, he came out there, he made the change, he switched it up, but I think it was too late. Why are you fighting at the end when you could have put up a fight from the start? And that all goes down to the team that you put out there. And the team that he put out there, there's no way it was going to get the job done. You know what I mean? Manchester City became very defensive at the end, so it shows that they were afraid. They didn't want to lose. Imagine Manchester City, Pep's Manchester City is afraid of losing against Arsenal in the Emirates. They became very defensive. So that just goes to show that they fear us. There is a fear factor there within Pep and Manchester City because he ended the game with no attackers on the field. You know what I'm saying? It was very defensive. You know what I mean? So for me, man, it's just Mikel, you can't continue being a coward. You cannot continue to be a coward and expect to win titles. And we want you to win. Like I honestly believe that majority of this fan base, they want Mikel Arteta to win. But at the rate he's going right now, it doesn't seem like he has the winning mentality. I mean, a coach has to start somewhere. I know Arsenal is not a club where you need coaches to come in and we're going to experiment because we want to win things. But he's at a point where he can win. He's at a point where he's able to cross the line if he just applies himself correctly. But I think he's just thinking about it too much. Just let the players play. Most of these players in this team have talent. I'm looking across the squad right now from Rhea, from Saliba, Gabriel, Timber, Calafiori in that position in the left back, also Skelly in that position, Rice, Zubimendi. If you're using Odegaard in that 10, Eze in that 10, Saka, Madueke, Gyökeres, all these players are talented players. All of them, all those names I listed are talented players. And when you have talented players, they don't need to be coached that much, man. You just set up a system and let them play. Of course, you're going to have a system as a coach. This is the Premier League. You can't just go out there like a Sunday league and tell them to go play and score goals. Of course, you have to have a system. Different games, you apply different systems. But you don't need to overcoach these guys. These guys are talented. A lot of these players are playing for their national teams. Just let them go out there and play. Don't overcoach good players. And you have good players in the squad. So you just got to let go. Release the handbrakes and let these guys play. And everybody sees this. This is what I'm saying. I'm not a professional coach. I mean, I've played ball before. You know what I'm saying? I played ball at a level and I understand how ball is played, right? And you don't need to have you need to have any coaching badge or any coaching experience to see that Arsenal has the tools and the resources to go on and win lots and lots of trophies. But I think the thing that's holding Arsenal back is Mikel Arteta, and he needs to just release the handbrake and let the guys play. Set up your system, give your intent, and just allow your team, your talented players to go out there and play. If you continue to hold on to that handbrake, you are going to finish your Arsenal career with no trophies. And it's as simple as that. It doesn't get simpler than that. It shows. It shows. And he's talking about all these things in a press conference saying that we played better yesterday than five than when we won 5 goals to 1. I cannot believe he said that. That's such a cop out. Not even a cop out. It's just such an ignorant statement to make from a very intelligent person. It's just like he's losing the plot. I was at that game, and a lot of people watched that game. Like, you think we're just walking into a room not knowing what's going on for like 6, 7 years? Like, we saw the game last year. We know that's not true. We played very well to beat them 5 goals to 1. Everybody was on point. We were pressing. We were quick on the counter. We were quick moving the ball around. I was in the stadium when I saw it. The stadium was electric because of the how the players were playing. It wasn't the same thing yesterday. So for him to come out and put out a statement saying that we played better than last year when we beat them 5-1, bro, that's wild for you to say that. It's wow. So, you know, yeah, you could. He's finding all these excuses. He's saying most points in Arsenal history, like more points than the Invincibles, more points than the Invincibles, bro. If that's his defense, saying that he's gained or throughout his tenure or his season, last 2 or 3 seasons, he's gathered more points than the Invincibles. The Invincibles won a title, bro. Yo, I don't get it. The Invincibles, the Invincibles won a title. They're invincible, yes, for a reason. They're invincible. I get that, but they haven't been. You could be unbeaten and not win the league, right? But they were unbeaten and they won the league. They won the title. That's a big difference. You know what I mean? So for him to come out and say that he's gathered more points than the Invincibles, that it's oh my god, this guy's a joke, bro. I can't believe that. But anyway, guys, I don't think it's time to panic yet. I understand why you would, because we've seen this for the last 6 years now, and we kind of know where it's going. But it's still early. I'm hoping that he'll realize his mistakes and faults as he did in the second half of yesterday, right? And he made the changes very quick. Let's give him that, right? He made the change very quick. People are not going to give that to him because they're going to say, "Hey, he should have never started that squad, or should never started that lineup, and that's his fault." And he's just correcting his own mistake. I get that, but it shows that he's seeing his mistakes early now. So 5 games in, hopefully he realizes that what he's been doing isn't working, and while Odegaard is out, he's going to play Eze. And there's some conspiracy theories there saying that he doesn't want to play Eze in the 10 because he feels like if he plays Eze in the 10, he's going to outperform he's going to outperform Odegaard in that position, and then he'll be forced to put Odegaard on the bench, and Odegaard is like his son. So some people are saying that. It's neither here nor there with me. I'm Arsenal. I'm not Mikel Arteta. Like, I'm a fan of Arsenal. So I don't want to be concerned with whether or not which player he favors more or whatever. It's who's best for that position. And honestly, I feel like Eze is the better option in that position. Well, you could say the best option because now he's using 3 or 4. He has 3 or 4 options, right? He has Odegaard, he's using Marino, and you have Waneri who could also play that position. But I honestly think that Eze is the best option. Um, and it's just it's sad to see, that people are thinking that, but we're in a position right now where people are looking for something because it's been like that for the last 6 years, and they're saying it must be a reason. Is it a Spanish thing? Is it favoritism? Like, what is it? Gyökeres he's just been starving up there. For the last 3 games, he hasn't really gotten any service. And as it came on and as it was trying, what I'm saying, he played a nice from from his center circle on in our half. That pass was played over to Martinelli, and Martinelli, great run. With all the immense pressure that he's under, he comes on and he gives us a good performance. And I saw a tweet, not a tweet. Well, I think his wife posted it on her social media account, um, when he gave her the bad news that he's not going to be starting, and she kind of gave him some encouragement, saying that, listen, you're going to go on against tired legs and you're going to score. That's a good partner right there. That's a strong partner, and she encouraged him. And I understand the celebration. I had a problem with it earlier, but thinking about it, like he's been under immense scrutiny and pressure, and he comes on and he scores his second goal and coming on. He did it last week at Bilbao, and he came on and he did it again. So I understand that the frustration and the pressure and just him being relieved, and just I'm just so happy that I scored. I'm showing you guys, showing the fans, because I know he loves the fans. He loves the club, and he wants to prove himself to the fans. So I understand the celebration. You know what I'm saying? Um, but we got to get on with it. We got to win the game. And Zubimendo was the only one who went into the net, and he was trying to get the ball, and he got it in the kind of little shoving match with one of the city defenders. But again, as I said, like Eze is the one who's actually making things happen. Yesterday, he showed it. As soon as he came on, he was dropping his shoulders, moving the ball forward quickly, moving past players in the midfield. None of our current midfielders right now is giving us that. Rice is not that player. I don't expect him to do that. Mikel Arteta, he's turning him into a shell of his former self, which is crazy, right? And we could go on and on and on. If Mikel does not change soon, it's not gonna be a title race. It's gonna become a top four race. So that's my perspective on it yesterday. I don't know. I'm becoming deflated, to be honest. It's 5 games in, but it's been 6 years, and I've seen this story before. And being optimistic, sometimes drains the hell out of you. And sometimes it's easier just to not have high expectations. We have the squad, we have the team. Um, you know, I'm not the owner. I'm pretty sure if we were the owner, I want to say 90% of the fans, if we were the owner, would have gotten rid of Mikel. We would thank him, and we would tell him, hey, we appreciate what you've done, but I think this is all you could do for us. And we would just get somebody else who could take us over the line. But we're fans, and that's why we have to express ourselves. And, this is a platform where we need to do it. And hopefully at some point the club will see it, and they'll understand our frustration. They'll see our love, they'll see our passion, they'll understand our frustration, and they'll make a change for us, and they'll help us out. But until then, this is all we could do. We could just hope and pray that he could turn it around. It's only 5 games, so let's just have some faith. So I really appreciate you guys for stopping by. Listen on your way out. Please smash that like, subscribe, and comment. And I really appreciate you guys. You guys be safe. All right, until the next one. All right, guys. Peace.